Hello and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. I'm your geology teacher, Jen, and it's time for Throwback Thursday. This is George Thompson. He was born in London in 1797 to a well-off family. His name was changed to Scrope after his wife inherited some land northeast of Bath. Scrope attended St. John's College, and that was where he fell in love with his future specialty, volcanoes. Even more important, he is the scientist that pioneered a specialty within volcanology now known as Igneous Petrology. See what I tell you, this chart was going to turn off a lot. So Igneous Petrology is the study of how magma is formed and solidified. So Scrope went on expeditions to southern France, southern Italy, the Pontine Islands, southwestern Germany, and many other places of notable past and present volcanism to study the rocks there. South-central France was probably his most notable work. A French geologist by the name of Nicolas Desmarest said that the mountains near Auvergne were actually extinct volcanoes, and Scrope wanted to see this for himself. So shown here is one of the drawings, one of the plates from his book that I will talk about in a moment, of those extinct volcanoes in south-central France. I'm going to get all tongue-tied. So when he went down there, he found that Desmarest was right. The area was covered in layers of basalt, and he wrote a book on it called the Memoir on Geology of Central France. And inside he had these beautiful plates drawn of the places and features that he'd seen. And there were lots of them, including like the tallest peak in those mountains. This one's one of my favorites because you can see over here the layers of basalt that he marked in there, as well as the river cutting through it. So it's really obvious that there's layers of basalt there. Here's another one in that same kind of vein here. You've got layer here and a layer here and a layer here, as well as the river cut. Got a town built on top of the basalt, which is not unusual if you've ever been to Idaho. Whole state's just plumb covered in volcanic rocks. It's mostly in the southern part, but south-central. And what I love most about these is just these drawings remind me so much of Yellowstone country. And I went to school in Yellowstone country, so I got to see lots of these kinds of features for field trips all the time. And I mean, if I hadn't known that he was drawing these of France, I'd have totally believed that these were artist renditions of places in Montana, Wyoming, or Idaho, because they're just so reminiscent of that place. No, so when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 1822, Scrope actually got to witness it. And this is his rendition of the volcanic eruption that he drew many years later. And honestly, I'm kind of jealous that he got to witness that. I'd love to see a volcano erupt. That'd be super cool. But maybe that's just because I'm a geologist and, I'm not so worried about dying in an eruption as just being able to see one. Now, when Scrope returned home, he became a joint secretary of the London Geological Society alongside Sir Charles Lyell. And I did do a video on him. Yes. I've done so many at this point, I can't remember what I have done. So if you want to look for more information on Charles Lyell, there should be a video on him somewhere in my past videos. This would be a crucial meeting for the two of them because they would rock the geologic world. And yes, I absolutely wanted to keep that pun in there intentionally. The same year, Scrope would publish Considerations on Volcanoes. He would state that volcanoes actually played a major part in Earth's history by being the primary source for new rocks. which was not well received because it went against Neptunism, which was the primary vein of thought at the time. And just for a little background, Neptunism was the idea that the Earth was once completely covered by a single superheated ocean that, as it receded, laid down layers of rock. They were onto something. They weren't completely wrong. Some new rocks are created by deposition from water. We call those sedimentary rocks. And they come from other places that they had to have a source for those minerals. They weren't just floating around in the water as random elements. The water pulled them from somewhere. They just didn't know how to explain that or how that came to be. Scrope did. He figured it out. He found it hard to believe that all rocks came from this superheated ocean, especially after his travels through France and watching Mount Vesuvius erupt. And he was like, nah, I'm pretty sure volcanoes have a big role to play in this. But most people were unhappy with this idea, and the only person who praised his work was Charles Lyell. In fact, Lyell spearheaded an expedition to corroborate Scrope's findings, which he totally did. And from there, the two developed a really strong friendship. They collaborated often, they reviewed each other's work, they supported one another when the geologic community was criticizing them for daring to think outside the box. In fact, they were such good friends that they died within a year of each other because they just could not live without each other. I'm sure that's not entirely true, but you know what? Bromance, dude. I'm all for the bromance. Together, the two of them would change the way we viewed rocks, and they would take us from that catastrophic formation to many smaller events that just happened over a long time frame. So, instrumental to the way geology works as taught and all of that. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I want to make sure you tune in tomorrow to take a closer look at the giant snail campanile. So, I will fossilize you later.